a dance between me and my audience, and I want them to fall in love with the music once they hear the album and go and participate in this and sing along and dance in the aisles like when people were pissed off at Wicked.
If there's one celebrity who's worn more hats than a vintage Nashville thrift shop, it's Miley Cyrus. Born Destiny Hope Cyrus in 1992 in Franklin, Tennessee, to country legend Billy Ray Cyrus, she seemed destined for stardom. But what few anticipated was just how deeply she would embed herself into the cultural zeitgeist. With a career that spans over 2 decades, Miley has risen, fallen, and evolved in ways that have both shocked and inspired the world. Join us as we tell you about the rise, fall, and reinvention of Miley Cyrus. The birth of a tween supernova. Before she was twerking in latex or duetting with rock legends, Miley Cyrus was a 13-year-old girl landing the role of a lifetime. Cast as Miley Stewart in Hannah Montana, a Disney Channel phenomenon, she played a teen leading a secret double life as a pop star. But the irony wasn't lost on her. Art was imitating life. The daughter of country singer Billy Ray Cyrus, Miley was born into showbiz, and Hannah Montana made her a household name overnight. The show debuted in 2006 and became an instant hit. Young fans idolized her. Older viewers took note of her comic timing and surprising vocal chops. Merchandise flew off shelves, her concerts sold out in minutes, and suddenly Miley wasn't just a Disney character, she was a pop star in her own right. By age 15, she was topping Billboard charts with Best of Both Worlds and headlining stadiums across the US. But that fame came at a cost. The pressure to uphold the squeaky clean image of Hannah collided with Miley's growing desire to be herself. Behind the scenes, she was a teenager dealing with fame, puberty, and the exhausting reality of performing for millions who expected her to be perfect. This era of glittery wigs and bubblegum pops built Miley's foundation, but also the cage she'd soon fight to escape. And when the curtain closed on Hannah Montana, Miley was ready to burn the blonde wig and start over. Became poster child of the teenage rebellion. When Miley dropped Can't Be Tamed in 2010, she didn't just release an album, she made a declaration. The Disney days were done. Gone were the sparkly blazers and double lives. She now wore leather bodysuits, bold eyeliner, and lyrics that didn't ask for permission. The transformation was jarring for some fans and parents, but Miley had no interest in making anyone comfortable. She was 17, legal adulthood was looming, and she was tired of being told who to be. The album, full of electro-pop swagger, wasn't critically adored, but it showed Miley was taking control of her story. Her image shift came with backlash. Critics clutched their pearls, tabloids ran headlines screaming "Disney darling gone wild," and longtime fans weren't sure what to make of the bold new Miley, but she didn't flinch. Looking back, Can't Be Tamed wasn't just a rebellious phase. It was a necessary growing pain, a creative shedding of childhood fame. Miley was learning in real time how to demand autonomy in an industry obsessed with packing young women into marketable molds. If Hannah Montana was the myth, Can't Be Tamed was Miley's myth-busting manifesto. She wasn't polished, and that was the point. This wasn't the Miley the world had known, and she was just getting started. Miley mastered the art of ruining expectations. In 2013, Miley Cyrus didn't just break the internet. She shattered the glass box the world had placed her in. All it took was a foam finger, a latex bikini, and a sledgehammer of a song called Wrecking Ball. Her infamous MTV VMA performance with Robin Thicke became one of the most talked about pop culture moments of the decade. The world watched, stunned, as the former Disney star twerked, tongue out, under the neon lights. Critics called it trashy, but Miley, she was doing exactly what she wanted. Enter bangers. This album wasn't just a new sound, it was a full-blown personality transplant. With producers like Mike Will Made It and features from Britney Spears and Future, Miley dove into hip-hop pop fusion. Tracks like We Can't Stop became youth anthems, while Wrecking Ball shed light on vulnerability in a wrecked relationship, all wrapped in an emotional vocal performance that proved she wasn't just a spectacle, she had a soul. Controversy followed her even after giving a successful album like Bangers. Accusations of cultural appropriation and performative edginess stuck. But amid the chaos, Miley carved out a space that was 100% hers. This was the storm before the clarity, the spotlight that burned too hot. But it also showed the world one of Miley's greatest talents, the ability to be fearless, flawed, and unforgettable all at once. Love, identity, and the Liam years. While Miley's public image was evolving, so was her private life, most notably her decade-long on-again, off-again relationship with actor Liam Hemsworth. The two met on the set of The Last Song in 2009 and quickly became one of Hollywood's favorite couples. Their romance was tempestuous, marked by breakups, reconciliations, and engagement, and eventually marriage in December 2018. Their Malibu wedding was intimate and sweet, a moment of calm after years of turbulence, but just 8 months later, they filed for divorce. It wasn't just the end of a marriage, it was a reckoning for Miley. She later shared that losing their Malibu home to wildfires in 2018 was as traumatic as the divorce itself. It wasn't just a house, it was a symbol of the life they had tried to build. For Miley, this period was about learning that love doesn't always last, and that's okay. She began to realize that her identity had been enmeshed with Liam's, and in losing him, she had to rediscover herself. Through heartbreak, she gained clarity. Songs like Slide Away and Malibu revealed a more introspective Miley. She didn't just mourn the end of a relationship, she grew from it. Sobriety and self-discovery. Post-divorce, Miley entered a quieter storm. She opened up about her struggles with mental health and substance use, candidly discussing how grief, fame, and trauma had led her to self-medicate. She spoke of the pressures to maintain a persona and how numbing the pain became a coping mechanism. In 2020, she revealed she had been sober for several months, explaining that clarity brought with it a newfound sense of self.
There was no way I could have prepared for the amount of balance I would have to learn to kind of teeter.
Therapy, meditation, and reconnection to her roots became cornerstones of her healing process. For the first time, Miley wasn't running from herself. She was sitting with her pain, making peace with it. Her openness resonated deeply with fans. She broke the silence that so often surrounds mental health and addiction in Hollywood, especially for young women. Professionally, she channeled this emotional rawness into her music. Albums like Plastic Hearts were gritty, grounded, and gloriously unfiltered. Gone were the shock tactics. In their place stood a woman in full command of her narrative, her voice, and her heart. Miley found her center, not in the spotlight, but in the stillness. The fallout with her dad. While Miley worked to heal herself, another storm brewed behind the scenes, this time within the Cyrus clan. In 2022, her parents, Billy Ray and Tish Cyrus, announced their divorce after nearly 30 years of marriage. The split exposed simmering tensions and triggered rumors of estrangement, especially after Billy Ray's swift remarriage to a much younger woman. Miley, caught in the emotional crossfire, kept things relatively quiet. But fans noted that her once close bond with her father, whom she used to call her best friend, appeared strained. In contrast, she visibly leaned into her connection with her mother Tish and sister Brandy, both of whom became anchors of support during the turmoil. Despite the personal chaos, Miley chose not to fan the flames publicly. Instead of feeding the headlines, she turned inward and channeled her energy into her art. While the world dissected family dynamics, Miley held her ground with dignity. The public saw less of her at parties and more of her in meaningful performances and thoughtful interviews. In a family known for its dramatic flair and musical legacy, Miley became a quiet force of resilience. She didn't escape the dysfunction. She endured it and emerged stronger. Miley got her flowers. In 2023, Miley released what would become her most iconic anthem to date, Flowers. With its disco-tinged beat and self-empowering lyrics, the track became a global smash, debuting at #1 and holding the top spot for weeks. Fans and critics saw it as a direct response to her failed marriage with Liam Hemsworth, but more than that, it was a love letter to herself. Flowers wasn't just a catchy breakup bop, it was a declaration of growth. Miley had evolved, and so had her music. There was no rage in her tone, just clarity. The success of Flowers culminated in one of the most meaningful milestones of Miley's career, her first Grammy win. After years of pushing boundaries, weathering backlash, and reinventing herself in the face of skepticism, she finally received formal recognition from the music industry, not for controversy, but for excellence. Accepting the Grammy, Miley delivered a speech that was equal parts gratitude and grit. It felt like closure for years of chaos and a validation of her journey. In that moment, she wasn't a former child star or a scandal magnet, she was an artist at the peak of her craft. Flowers became an anthem of self-love and independence, but the album was layered with introspection. Tracks like Jaded and Wonder Woman revealed a softer, wiser Miley, embracing imperfection. Offstage, Miley leaned into wellness. She practiced yoga, stayed sober, and became more intentional with her time and relationships. She stepped back from the constant need to prove something. This chapter is Miley at her most authentic. No more costumes, no more personas, just her voice, her truth, and a calm defiance that needs no explanation. Miley Cyrus once said, "I'm not a mess, I'm a masterpiece in progress." Today, that sentiment feels prophetic. From Disney princess to Grammy winner, Miley Cyrus has lived 1,000 lives, but she's never lost the thread of who she is: bold, brave, and unbreakably real. Like, subscribe, and comment. What's your favorite Miley era?